The 1985 Ford Capri is the brochure of the day. Hello, welcome to Quarterlight, your car brochure channel. And like we saw at the start there, we're going to be looking at the 1985 Ford Capri in today's brochure. Fridays we always look at a Ford actually, so we do get Ford content at least once a week if you are a Ford enthusiast, although there's many other makes and models as well during the week. So yes, the 1985 Ford Capri, and actually funnily enough I did actually own for a short while back in my youth, a 1985 Ford Capri, actually in this same colour, although it certainly was not the 2.8 injection, it was the lowly laser and only a 1.6, but actually this image does kind of like remind me of it. Certainly one of those cars that we remember, though weirdly at this time, I think even in 85 it kind of looked quite old-fashioned. Particularly like last week we were looking at the Sierras and the XR4i, which shared the engine with the 2.8 injection Capri. Vast difference, wasn't it? I mean, the Sierra was very much this modern aerodynamic shape. This was still a design very much aging by this time, and certainly what was quite a large range of cars like the other Fords in the range. Certainly when we looked at the Sierra, that's getting bigger and bigger range. Escorts were a huge range. Capris was quite a reasonable size range as well at one time. It's really reduced vastly by this stage. So we haven't really got that much to get through to look at the range of Capris as it so happens. For those who don't know, the last few Fridays we've been looking at this. It's an all-range catalogue for all the Ford cars. December 84, January 85. If you missed any of these episodes, I will certainly do a link at the end and eventually be able to watch the whole brochure in one fell swoop if that tickles your fancy. But anyway, let's get on with this Capri range. So yeah, anyway, let's get on with the Ford Capri range. A lovely 2.8 injection shown on the front cover, which was really, I know this is going to sound a strange thing to say, the only real main model in the Capri range at this time, and I'll certainly come back and explain what I mean by that in a moment. As I stick my big arm in front of the camera, turn the page over, we get a little bit of an introduction to Capri, a unique blend of performance, practicality and panache. But let's have a look at the range. So when we turn the page, what model do we get? Well, we get this, the Capri Laser. But notice what it says on the top there, the Special Edition Capri Laser, which I always thought was a little bit weird, calling these the Special Edition, because they called it a special edition for years and years. A very strange special edition, because you always think about special editions being limited editions, as in they're only around for a short while, they only sell so many numbers and then that's it. But the special edition Capri Laser was a special edition because they're telling you that, but really it was more like just a model of Capri, because they carried on selling the special edition Capri Laser all the way to the end of production. I'll show you what I mean by this by getting a very late brochure here. Just pulling a random brochure out here. February 1987. February 1987 is the last time we actually see the Ford Capri shown in a full range brochure. And if I move to the Capri section, which incidentally is a variation on exactly the same picture, look, just a smaller version. What are we calling it? The Capri Laser, the exclusive Special Edition Laser. So we can still call it a Special Edition Laser. Very weird how they did that. And of course, in the brochure that we're actually looking at today, this January 1985 brochure, there was also the Escort Laser. And the Escort Laser was another Special Edition model. So laser was seen as a little bit of a word. Well, laser in fact was used many times all the way around the world actually for various different models and special editions, but and very often a special edition name. But like I say, you'd think, looking at this brochure in 1985, that this model is only going to be around a short time, like the Escort Laser. But like I say, it goes on right to the end of production, still calling it a special edition model. So what happened to the rest of the range of Capris? So yeah, I'm not going to go back and start looking at Capri gears and all the models in the 70s, but I thought I'd just pick this random one up. A Ford all-range catalogue from May 1983, and then the range was the base model, the LS, the middling model, the S, and then of course the 2.8 injection. So at this time, 83, I think the Capri range actually made more sense. The Laser was very much like an S in some ways, with these alloy wheels on there, for example. So it reminded me more of an S, but I think in some ways the Capri S seemed more desirable. An S, anything Ford, seemed a little bit desirable in the 70s and early 80s, I think. So I kind of wish they kept this LSS and 2.8 injection going to the end, but really by 1985 it was becoming a older, what are we going to do with this car sort of thing. We got these more modern vehicles coming along, and it limped on to 87, didn't it? But yeah, I just wanted to point that out. And in fact, what I'm going to do with the Capri Laser, because they call it a special edition, and because we look at special editions at the weekend, I'm going to skip past these models so we can spend more time looking at what essentially is the only model of the range that isn't a special edition, the 2.8 injection. So we'll look at these images, have a look what the text is, see how much all this costs, because after all, this was the most desirable Capri at the time. So it starts by telling us the Capri 2.8 injection special, packed with character and performance. Well, it's a little bit of a strange little tiny image with this moody sky. I think we'll read the text first, then come back to the main images. It tells us the Capri range's exotic blend of high quality style, luxury and dazzling race-bred performance is epitomised by spellbinding 2.8 injection special. A true champion, it looks superb from every angle and has many engineering features to delight the keenest and most fastidious of drivers. Exceptionally strong on value, its specification is tailored to optimise characteristics that have made the Capri a legend in its own lifetime. The sleek body is complemented by 13x7 alloy wheels, whose elegance belies their lightweight and immense strength. Shod with low-profile 205x60 VR tyres, they make this most coveted of all Capris, a car whose road holding and handling cannot be faulted, apparently. Maybe it could be, but anyway, let's move on. It goes on to tell us equally important but hidden from view is the Injection Special's limited slip differential. Designed to maximise traction under difficult conditions, it's a sophisticated feature rarely found in lists of standard equipment. The limited slip differential contributes a great deal to the Capri's crisp, predictable handling and is a valuable asset in a car capable of 130 miles per hour. The Injection Special's searing speed comes from a refined but robust V6 engine fitted with brakeless electronic ignition and the advanced Bosch K-Jectronic fuel injection system. It all adds up to 160 PS at 5700 RPM. Externally, the sleek Injection Special has a body-coloured radiator grille, bonnet lip and light bezels to supplement the strong identity provided by its eye-catching wheels. The wide choice of attractive metallic and solid colour schemes include mineral blue or Nimbus grey over Strator silver. We will at the end look at the full colour range, of course. The injection special looks good inside as well as out. Its seats combine the luxury and practicality of high-grade leather with straub pattern fabric centre panels, which match the door leather panel inserts. Leather is also used to trim the steering wheel and gear lever knob. Although the ventilation system is very efficient, its airflow can be increased by tilting or sliding the steel sunroof and opening the rear compartment's quarter vents. Remember those sort of rear quarter vents, i.e. the passenger windows at the back there. You couldn't actually open them on all the models, as in the lower spec models. Back seats also get seat belts, and the seats themselves are easily folded to provide additional luggage space. So a little bit unusual when we looked at the rest of the range that we're actually putting back seat belts as standard on this model. The open road is the 5-speed injection special's natural habitat, and its 13-gallon fuel tank, allied to excellent economy, give a range that can comfortably exceed 300 miles. Incidentally, I'm just going to pause for a second and say if you do enjoy this sort of thing, looking back at old car brochures, please do consider subscribing. It is all completely free. Let's get back to that brochure. Have a look at the images. So it starts by showing us those Recaro Sport seats in a sort of separate picture and actually in situ in the car themselves. You can also see this model showing that sunroof on there. Never thought they were the most inspiring interiors, as in it's pretty much a sea of grey. A little bit of colour would have helped, considering this is supposed to be a sporty model, of course. And then, of course, the main image, the model itself. Like I say, a little bit of an old-fashioned vehicle, really, in many ways by this time, particularly when you compare it to the Sierras. I mean, just for example, I mean these bumpers were actually metal and they actually rusted. So a little bit of old technology, but I guess that, you know, you've always promised yourself a Ford Capri type thing, possibly still lived on, and encouraged a lot of people to continue buying them, of course. I still think it was quite sad when they actually eventually disappeared without really replacing them at the time, and then they tried to replace it with, you know, things like the Ford Probe, but it never really captured the imagination again. And now, of course, the Capri name has come back as a electric SUV. Would we have ever believed such a thing would happen? Well, I certainly would never have done, but I guess that all relates to, in the US, they brought out an electric version of the Mustang with equal horrors of using the Mustang name for that. But anyway, let's move on. That does in fact take us up to the specifications. We will have a quick look at the specs. So the last column there is the model we've been looking at, the 2.8 injection, a 2792cc engine, V6 of course, but the numbers right at the bottom there say 113 7.9, telling us maximum speed of 130 miles per hour, 0 to 16 7.9 seconds, which was certainly good at this stage and would have felt quite nice for sure. The XR4i, surprisingly, more or less the same. Top speed 130, 0 to 60 on those was 8 seconds, so surprised the aerodynamics didn't make more of a difference there. Moving on to the specification, I'm not going to read every single bit and piece, but it's always nice to look at the optional features because that really is the guide to show what it has actually got. So if you wanted one of these in black, it was an extra £90. Metallic, it says see price guide, two-tone see price guide, because they're actually listed as separate prices in the moment for the different colours, so we'll look at that. The actual colour choice you could get, like I say, it wasn't a huge colour choice. You get diamond white, lacquer red and black, your only solid colours. So essentially white and red was the only two colours you get without spending more money on paint. Metallics, of course, extra money for Stratos Silver, Nimbus Grey, Paris Blue and Mineral Blue. But then rather nicely you could get them as a two-tone metallic. So for these it was Nimbus Grey on top and then the lower Stratos Silver, or the upper being mineral blue and the lower being Stratos silver. Kind of reminds me of those special edition Capris, actually, where you can always get them in two colours, two coats. And I guess by this stage, I don't know, two-tone was probably a little bit out of date, actually. Prices though, so for the standard model, as in the solid colours of choice of two, £9,500. Metallic colours was £9,627. The two-tone metallic was a little bit more expensive again at £9,708. But if you missed last week's and you missed looking at the XR4i, and again, like I say, I'll put a link to the end if you did, the XR4i was £10,323. So surprisingly, not that much money extra for this Sierra, which was, of course, a much more modern vehicle. At the time, people wanted this more modern shape. Well, I'm sure a lot of people still harks back to the golden ages. I think personally I would have preferred the XR4i. I must admit, I probably would have just paid that little bit extra, but certainly there were a lot of Capri fans out there. So next week we'll be looking at a proper range, I guess. We'll be looking at the Granada. This particular generation actually is my favourite generation of Granada, so I will enjoy looking through these. Doesn't that look absolutely gorgeous? I do love this generation of Granada. Back end kind of almost reminds me a bit of a Mercedes, actually. But yeah, I love this generation of Granada. So that's going to be next week, but don't forget, we'll be looking at that Laser special edition on Sunday, which is only 2 days time. So the chances are, if you're watching this, that episode may already be out. And like I say, at the end I'll group all this together so you can actually watch through the entire brochure all at one go. But yeah, definitely looking forward to seeing the Granada. But gosh, doesn't that look old-fashioned compared to the Sierra, which may necessarily not have been a bad thing, really. There may have been still people still crying about the loss of the Cortina, of course. So there we go. That is your Ford Capri in early 85. Thank you so much for watching today. Please do share your Capri stories, even if you're a regular, even if you've shared them stories again. Some people may have missed them, and I certainly won't mind reading them again. But thank you so much for watching today. We'll end, as we always do, by saying, if you've not done already, please do consider subscribing. It is all completely free, and if you wish to, you can become a member of the channel for a very small fee. But like I say, subscribing is free and will always be. I'll add a couple of boxes here. One will be it'll either be the entire series of this brochure, or if you're watching it when these episodes just come out, it'll be where we're up to at the moment. Second one's usually a random brochure, but overall, thank you so much for watching today, and the Ford Capri on Quarterlight, your car brochure channel. Please do take care. We'll see you again soon. All the best and goodbye.